Other areas that are really important are networking. Um, in general, there are various criteria that we group into when we talk about networking as far as US. Primarily, the things that we employ are online networking like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever the case is. There's so many different media platforms, but it's usually things like LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. College career fairs are part of networking as well. I mentor people on how to effectively go into a college career fair because guess what? There are things that you should do and shouldn't do to be seen by recruiters who attend as somebody that stands out. Other networking opportunities are things like specialty events, things like tech shows, HR meetups, club events. You have to be aware of them if you aren't. I take steps to make sure that any applicant that I speak to understands where they can leverage their networks, where they can leverage their personal connections, or things like secondary referrals. These are areas of how people find jobs. Most importantly, though, is LinkedIn networking, especially for United States and especially for investment banking and tech firms. We use LinkedIn as the #1 tool in United States to post jobs and internships, to network, to apply, to stay in contact with your colleagues, with recruiters for new openings. We use it to talk about things like how should I prepare for interviews? You may reach out to an associate or an AVP and ask them, hey, how was the interview process for you? Can you give me some advice? You may reach out to the manager directly and say, hey, are you hiring? I'd like to apply. I'm really interested in your bank, in your area. Recruiters use LinkedIn to search profiles. My job is to search LinkedIn database by keywords and find applicants who I think would be qualified for roles that I work on. I reach out to them directly via emails, and that's how I get them hired. Applicants do the same exact thing to reach out to recruiters and inquire about postings. LinkedIn has recently implemented a ton of new functions. What I personally like to do for people that I mentor is I like to share my screen and I like to show you just how LinkedIn works. There are so many hidden criteria and really cool things that you can use it for things like searching jobs based on your skills as opposed to job titles, or how to figure out people's emails and contact them via their personal job email as opposed to their LinkedIn email. Most of the time, people will not reply to you via LinkedIn, but it is the most effective tool to find work and to network. I can also do things like, well, one of the biggest immediate benefits that you gain from LinkedIn is actually being connected with me personally. I have right now close to 14,000 connections. I think I'm like halfway to 15,000. If you're connected with me, all of my connections become your secondary connections, meaning you can reach out to them. They become available for you via search. They become available for you as part of your own network. This is super, super important. And this is why you need to start adding people and start building out your personal networks. After this webinar, make sure to get my contact info from the company that's hosting this. This is something that I highly encourage you guys to do just to utilize my network for your own personal gain. One of the reasons why I even do stuff like this is to be more connected to people. I work with colleges, I work with clubs. My goal right now is to build my network as high as possible. And it helps the people I work with as well because they can then utilize it. It's extremely geared towards finance and technology. So if you're interested in Facebook, Google, Amazon, it's all sort of part of what I do as well, in addition to like risk, compliance, and finance. Next, having a well-built LinkedIn profile is mandatory. Your resume needs to be reflected in your LinkedIn in multiple ways. Recruiters use LinkedIn to perform Boolean search. Look this up. This is really important. It's going to tell you why it's really mandatory to have a good LinkedIn profile. Make sure to research this because we use this for our internal systems as well. Hiring managers use LinkedIn to assess whether you're a cultural fit, meaning they don't want to hire a person to be a front facer for front office if you're wearing a hoodie and sweatpants in your LinkedIn profile picture, or maybe you have like lots of tattoos, or maybe you have crazy hairstyle. They always check to make sure you're a cultural fit, meaning you need to have a suit and tie or have professional attire and a professional background. Candidates use LinkedIn to message recruiters and hiring managers. As I said to you before, team members have an incentive to refer qualified candidates. Again, really, really important. We pay people to refer you if you're hired. LinkedIn needs to be utilized by candidates to get those referrals. But you need to know how to do it. A lot of people take a very wrong approach. Do not ask a person to refer you. Don't do this. It's gonna backfire on you more times than not. There are specific ways that you can send messages, specific ways that you can connect with them, and then later on ask them to refer you. And there are a lot of creative strategies that both companies and students use to engage in networking and utilizing LinkedIn as well. Other networking and communication tools that you need to be aware of, GitHub for anybody who's technical. If you're a data analyst, if you're a data scientist, or if you do quantitative stuff, or if you're a programmer, get your stuff over to GitHub. Our managers always check it if you have a link up. I have seen more people get hired because they have amazing code on their GitHub depository than people who kind of just take an approach where they may have a personal website or maybe like some other form where they present their code. Reddit or subreddits are a really good source of information as well. I've personally, it's a funny thing, way early in my career, I've actually landed a job at a startup via Reddit. I've literally replied to a comment of somebody who was a manager at the startup and they were hiring. And they said, yeah, I'd love to see your resume. So I sent it to them via Reddit and they interviewed me and I got hired. So make sure to utilize these social media websites as well. Your personal website may be a good reflection of your projects. If you're able to make one, do it. Meetup.com is also a good source to get in contact with relevant people in your professional sphere. A lot of those meetups focus on professional events, or you can even join a meetup to like just meet people. I mean, a lot of international students have problems with communication. The best way to get your communication skills up to par is either go into student clubs, or if maybe you want to expand more, go into these various meetups for things like data scientists or analysts or risk people. Next, so minimal timeline for preparation. This is really important for you to know. Why this is important is because you need to understand the time frame of when you should apply, when you should be submitting your profiles, when you should be contacting recruiters, when it's too late to do so, when it's too early, and so on and so forth. And the fundamental things about preparation are skills. Number one, you need to understand the skills you have to have ahead of time. You have to understand the stuff that needs to be part of your resume. You need to understand what you gotta study, which projects you gotta bring out of your college experience, which projects you should be doing and which ones you should be staying away from. You also need to be preparing your resume ahead of time as well. Don't wait until last moment. A good resume takes a few weeks to build, a cover letter even longer if you're doing it by yourself. The general timeline is You need to start applying 2 months prior to your graduation date. You need to start networking 4 months prior to you hitting the market. You need to be doing this throughout your entire college year if you're not graduating anytime soon. Internships are critical, skills are critical, and it takes time to build up. Most people who are in deep trouble are people who wait until the last moment to do this, because then it's too late to learn stuff. You gotta prepare for each interview. Don't just go to an interview and expect to pass it. This is a pretty bad strategy. It only works about 10% of the time. I'm speaking to you as somebody who does volume hiring. Do not wait until last moment. Your OPT is going to start running out no matter whether you're employed or not employed. And we do not hire OPTs under 2 years for STEM. So your job is to land into a good company on your first OPT year. The only places that hire OPTs that are running out are the big four, especially Deloitte. So again, you have to know this. You have to know the H-1B processes. You have to know when you need to talk about them, when your sponsorships are going to come through. It's also part of the process as well. 3, critical information for visas, sponsorships, and timelines. This is what I do on a day-to-day basis. I hire OPTs, I hire H-1Bs. Within Morgan Stanley, we pretty much do everything. Other banks, some of them do not hire OPTs anymore, like the British banks. They tend to cut down their sponsorships. But Goldman, JP, and other big banks, they still do to some extent. Goldman, JP, and Morgan, we hire OPTs without too many problems. H-1Bs are very easy as well. This is the best link for you to research. Trust me on this. This is probably one of the best things I can provide you as an immediate discussion topic. You probably haven't seen this before. If you have, you're way ahead of your competitors and your peers. If you haven't, this is the stuff your colleges have to be teaching you. It's a breakdown of every company that sponsors H-1Bs in 2018. It's the breakdown of the job titles that get sponsored. So guess what? If you're graduating and you're looking for a specific position, there is a very good chance you may never get your H-1B sponsorship because just statistically, they don't do it. So look this up and study this. Next, so we're coming to a point where we're almost done within the hour time frame that I kind of wanted to walk you guys through all the general stuff. I wanted to kind of go into some resume specific topics next. These are sample resumes that the firm provided. I don't know these people personally, but I'm going to critique their resumes to give you a really quick idea of what we look for as recruiters and what our managers look for as well. But again, the one thing that I want to emphasize here in the last 5 minutes is know your visa stuff. You have to talk to a recruiter to understand this. A manager or a mentor from the business will never be able to talk to you about this because they just don't know this, because they don't deal with this. Only HR files visas and gets them processed. They may have a little bit of understanding of it from their group, but the only person who can fully advise you on the big picture are our HR staff. So when you pick your mentors, no matter who you're working with, make sure you talk to HR first. The business people, they'll be able to mentor you better on the skills and the things you may need for the specific fields that they work in because they're the experts in it. But they will not be able to mentor you in fields that they don't necessarily support because it's not their areas. My advice is that you should speak to both HR mentors and business mentors if you have the capability, but speak or prioritize recruiters or HR staff first because they will be able to talk to you about the entire process from beginning to end. Now, back to visas. The other really important stuff is the current political climate in the United States. It's becoming much harder to do visa sponsorships. It's becoming much harder to get them processed. Most banks are no longer hiring 1 year OPTs. It's unfortunate. So it's not something that's your fault if you're not selected because a company doesn't hire. It's purely because it's just the policies. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. Do not lie to HR about your status. Some people think it's a good idea because it's going to give them interviews. It's a bad idea, horrible idea. It gets you blacklisted from the firms. If we ever get you into the offer stage and we find out that you've lied about your status, this gets you blacklisted. You will not work for the company again through the same recruiter. They will probably let others know too within the recruitment team that this happened. Just don't do it. Frankly, a company can hire you or they cannot hire you. It's black and white. There is no in-betweens. There is no interviewing somebody, having them be a star candidate, and then changing your mind later on as a manager. It's not mandated by the teams. It's mandated by our regulations and internal HR advisors. Your best bet is to disclose your status right away. The best bet is to disclose it on the top of your resume, usually on the heading, is where you put something like employment status, 1 year OPT or 3 year OPT, or however much time you have remaining. A recruiter will always ask you this first. Yes, by not putting it there, you will get more calls back, but a good recruiter will always ask you right away whether you need sponsorships or don't. And it's going to be a waste of your time to talk to people who won't sponsor you. Jumping into more resume related stuff. So the heading of this resume is missing, but the things that need to be in the heading are your LinkedIn. It needs to be on the bottom. Your employment status is really important as well for each particular country that you're applying in. And in this case, the person's coming from Australia. And I've mentored people from all over the world. I have tons of people I mentor in UK or Australia. They have their own employment laws, but they're relatively similar. So it's not too much of a difference. You will need to understand them and research them ahead of time to properly brand your heading. The things that I see about this resume right away is that the GPA, it's lower than 3.5. The rule is 3.5 plus. Keep it under 3.5, keep it out. This resume is missing its courses, meaning I have no idea what the person studied. I have no idea what technical skills that they've picked up as part of their education and their degree. Yes, I know that they're in finance, but have they taken accounting, or have they taken some courses in analytics, or did they do strategy? It's really unclear to me. Other things that are a little bit weird here are, well, actually, no, it's really the GPA and the courses. The courses should only be for your most latest one, unless you took something specific in your other ones. Other areas to look at here is the wording is actually pretty good. I want to read this really thoroughly right now, but one of the things that I see wrong here is that this person did not list the tools that they used, which again is the number one thing every one of our manager wants to see and every one of the recruiters wants to see is which job did you do, but which tools did you use to do it. And my guess is that this person used probably Excel in some capacity here. If they worked with financial ratios and accuracy, it's probably Excel based. So my question is, why didn't you put it if you used it? If they haven't, my fault. Maybe they were purely an operational role. But the thing that I see wrong here is this wording here, pay attention to corporate announcements. It's too vague. I mean, what does pay attention mean? Did you listen to the loudspeaker in your office? Did you listen to a meeting or your manager speaking about it? It's too vague, and I don't like this seeing this in a profile. The manager's not going to like this too. You should be like, if your job was to monitor corporate announcements, or to filter them, or to do something else, you have to use these specific verbs to relate that. Moving on. This is good. They said that they used Excel here, but what kind of Excel? VBA or pivot tables or VLOOKUP? If it's advanced, make sure to put it in. If it's basic, just keep it as basic. Other areas that I would have asked this person about is risk management typically falls under certain risk programs. I would say definitely put your programs in if you've studied them, or if they were part of your work experience. In this case, the one thing that I would say is a little strange would be the person studied, the person was an auditor. I can see why, because they did taxes and then they went into finance. So my question would be is, what do you actually want to do? If you did audit here and then you went into risk management here, why did you do marketing here? Guess what? The manager will have the same exact question, and you have to be prepared to answer it. You have to be prepared to tell me, why does this make sense? Even though this was marketing, you were doing finance stuff. My advice would be, instead of branding this as marketing department, maybe brand this like something like marketing department, comma, focused on financial reviews or financial analytics. This is important so that the system catches those keywords and brands you as somebody who's finance. But overall, this is decent. I wouldn't say this is very good resume. It's more in the middle, but anything that's not the best is gonna fail. So unfortunately, with the competition, you're either at the really top or you don't get the offer, is the trend. Out of those 200 applicants, there's going to be tons of people whose resumes are decent, but there's going to be like 5 or 6 of them whose resumes are stellar. And they're going to get the calls. They're going to get the interviews. And if any of them are good, they're going to get the offers. Which is why it's super, super important that all of this stuff is 100% on your resume as well. This is another profile. Again, it's a decent resume. Here I can see that this person was a group leader, but my question is, why is your project experience first? Maybe because the person did not have too much financial experience. Maybe they're a fresh grad who didn't really do any internships. That's fine. It's good to put your project experience like this, but don't brand it as project experience. Just brand it as experience. A lot of the initial impressions are all about selling yourself and selling your expertise. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to start the sell by making me think you're a student. You want me to think of you as a professional, even if you don't really have much experience. So branding like this is really important. My guess is this is the person's second half of experience, because this is, again, Australia. But I have seen resumes that start off with project first. In this case, let's see, business case analytics. I assume this is the name of the college. The problem here is they didn't mention the tools that they use for their business analytics project. What I care about is the tools. I don't care about anything else, because there's too much variability on what the project is. It could be a good project, it could be a homework assignment. We would never know. So we mostly don't care about exactly what it is unless it's something that's very, very high profile, like a project for a big firm. In this case, it's for Tesla. So it would be really good for any startup-ish or any tech firms. SWOT analysis is great, but the question is, how did you do this? Excel, or did you use something else? Did you use Python, or whatever the tools are missing here? These titles are not good to use, group leader or group member. We don't frankly care about them. What you should always present yourself as is somebody who ran the project, no matter whether you are a member or a group leader. Nobody will ever know exactly what you did there. It's purely up to you to sell it. So don't undersell yourself. The main problem really in this person's resume is that I'm seeing the tools. So it's good that they put it here, but they need to be more visible at the top. And then here again, like I'm not really seeing the tools that they used. So my guess would be they have Excel, PowerPoint, and Access here, and they have accounting information systems, but which one specifically did they use is my question. They also listed things like modeling and analysis, but usually for those areas you use advanced Excel. So my guess is they might have used VBA or pivot tables or VLOOKUP at some point, but maybe they just didn't put it. So that would be my question to them. Fundamentally though, this person is lacking more in their arsenal to be competitive. Their resume is going to be good for something like a basic finance or a risk analyst, but there's not too much that makes them stand out, unfortunately. So my recommendation is pick up Python. It's gonna help you a ton for all of this. Moving on. This resume is more of it has a little bit more here. So things that I see wrong right away. Likely LinkedIn is not listed here. This GPA again should be probably hidden because it's 3.4. Key courses are good, but what I don't like here is my question is why is this resume 2 pages? Well, let's see. Oh, because he actually has some experience. He worked for 2 years of banking, and then he was a junior consultant here. Good, but my recommendation is 1 page it. This format, it's too wide. You're wasting all of this space. Most people with 2 years of experience, their resume is 1 page long. Most people with about 4 years of experience are still under 1 page. It's really only about 5 years plus that your resume starts to get to 2 pages, unless you honestly have done a lot. So let's quickly look through it. Graduate banking program. This doesn't tell me what he did. Did they do analytics, or were they an operational associate, or were they doing risk? It looks like here they were doing deposits and withdrawals, so it's operational retail banking. Retail banking should be part of the keyword so that our retail banking searches catch it. Here they said they handled transactions and accounting, risk, and they also mentioned. Well, I'm looking at this and I already don't really like this. I feel like this is a bit of a mess. It needs to be one. This is too short. For 2 years of experience, having 4 short bullet points, it's not enough. The manager is going to come back and they're going to say, well, so you have 4 bullet points for 2 years of experience and they're 1 sentence long. Have you actually done much, or were you just like a front desk deposit withdrawal person? Even if you were, your lines have to be more expanded. This line, the third one, it's way too short. And if this is most of your experience, why put all of this stuff here where you can expand this more because at this point you're a professional already. You're not an entry-level grad. So I would recommend that this person actually cleans up all of this spacing, makes it smaller, and makes it a little bit more expanding on their full-time experience as opposed to their projects. This could be all fit probably into 1 page if you cut down a bit. Other problems here is, let's see, so assisted in participation of consultation case. This English is a little bit broken. I think this person, just because they were mostly China-based, may have a little bit of a struggle with translating things to English. It's really common. It's not a reflection of whether they're a bad applicant or a good applicant. It's just you need an English speaker to polish up all of your wording, because like assisted in participation of consultation, this is broken English. I would look at this and I wouldn't really understand what you're trying to say here. Other things that I would recommend would be, let's see, so good skills, very good skills, but R is usually much better to put up front as opposed to MATLAB or Excel or SPSS. The other things that I would recommend too would be, if this person studied economics and they want to be a programmer or they want to be a quant, take this and bring it to the top to brand yourself as more of a quant. I see that the person did tons of quantitative stuff here, so it would make sense to go into that direction. Retail banking pays very little, so never do this if you have all of this as your foundation. This resume would just need to be rewritten, rebranded, and the format needs to be more condensed and more clean. I'm looking at this now, and it just like visually it looks a little bit messy to me. I think the managers wouldn't really, like from a first glance, they might pass on it. But good skills, good experience for retail, and good projects. Next, this is another resume, so let's see. Where my question would be here is this a STEM degree or a non-STEM? Are you a 3-year OPT holder or a 1-year OPT holder? Because this would determine whether I call you or don't call you. So it's important, if your degree is financial engineering and STEM, to put STEM here so that recruiters are aware of your eligibility. There are relevant modules wouldn't be the word that I would use. I would use things like relevant courses. The courses are very good though, so this is great. I wouldn't really say we care too much about the dissertation though. Like I haven't ever really seen people talk about the dissertation here unless they have extra space. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I'd say this is more unusual. Other things that I would talk about would probably be about this here specifically. What type of company is Kylan? Are they an investment bank? Are they a boutique firm? Are they a hedge fund? What I would advise is you put a little bit of a divider here, and then you say in like italics, a quantitative advisory firm, a boutique hedge fund, a private investment bank. Basically, I need to understand the scope of the firm you've worked under. This could be anything from a 3-man shop to some type of a prime group. I don't know, like it could be a shipping firm. I wouldn't really know too well. So always describe for international firms what they actually are. Intern of Banking Services Division, this needs to be rephrased. Banking Services Intern, or Financial Analytics or Financial Analysis Intern for Banking Services Division. This is too vague. Again, same problem. This person did not put too many tools in. If they were doing analytics, my first question is, what did you use as your tools? Like, they have Bloomberg here, and you collected data here, but what did you use to do it? A manager would look at this and they would pass almost instantly if you're applying to something like quantitative or analytics based. And my assumption is that this person is a quant because of financial engineering. So if you're a quant, you should put more tools in if you have them. If not, though, that's fine. But again, like it's something I would ask the person as I speak with them and I fix their profile. Finance intern and loans branch and lobby management. So this sounds a little bit better. Directed clients to upgrade and apply for various credit types. Okay, so the English is good. Increased. This is broken here. Increased 10,000 signups. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by increased? Did you generate 1,000 signups? Did you increase signups by 1,000? The English here is a little bit broken. The managers would see this almost instantly, and they would think the person's communication is not super solid. This is good. So this is customer service based, but again, it's really all about wording. Next, I'm not sure if this is the same resume. I assume it's probably the same because of the quantitative stuff. So I'm looking at this person's projects. This is a bad pitch. This should be a little rephrased a little bit better. Something like what's the project's name, right? Pitching an investment idea. Is this an M&A project? Is this a sales project? Or is this an investment advisory project? Pitching an investment idea, it's too vague. It doesn't really tell me the focus of the project. So I'd say rebrand this. Led the whole project by organizing weekly workshops. This wording, it's slightly, very, very slightly strange. Like not bad, but just very slightly strange. Overall, this project though, it's a waste of time, because why put this when you have all of these technical skill sets and almost no mention of where you've actually did them in your school? So I've looked at if this person is the same person that did all of this stuff. My question is, why is none of this reflected literally anywhere on your resume? I would pass on your profile, and I'm pretty sure this profile used all of these in his education and his projects. So again, I would consider this resume to not be a good one. This would be a very quick pass from my teams, because we would be focused on all of this and we would see none of it here. Our assumption would be this is a quant who studied quant, who may have heard these terms in their degree, but doesn't actually know any of it because there's no show of him doing it. This is too long here. It needs to be compressed and cut down. We don't really care too much about this. To be honest, it should be one line at most. This is good, online trading. This IT skills needs to be reordered. Python first, MATLAB second, SPSS followed by VBA last. So yeah, this resume I probably say needs lots of work.